Good morning. We'll go ahead and start the work session today. Though we were notified this week that we're going to have this work session. Navajo Nation Board of Election Administration, work session. So let me go ahead and call the work session to order at 8:14. We'll go ahead and roll call. This is a work session, so we don't need a quorum. I'd like to ask the staff, is there any delegates online?
Good morning, Chair Pro Tem. Online, we have Honorable Andy Nez, Honorable George Tolth, that's all 2 delegates.
Those delegates. On the work session, we can also call in those. So we'll go ahead and go on with the agenda. Invocation sheet. Board of Election, invocation.
Heavenly Father, we come before you. Hawan sa anabi ito kodo nishin lini kodo nihin na lini pa ko aba na huljish ko na kot ko nihil kon loro lechbohol ni ko behdi zehi ben si kesi kon hin lechbohol ni chiri in lini be ko the need for guidance, for wisdom, for knowledge chbohol ni ko I don't lini ko beshmas andan leni ko biltan lo arechi ni chde kagi yat kwa ni ko lo le aro da ist agi ni beshmas andan leni da ist agi ko but so des sind le shlant aidan leni aro ko als ko ko yat ko hawada nane kaido nahi kato le chbolni ko nit need ko clear our path, clear our obstacles chbolni adin da ko board members dan Leni, Naval Board of Election Supervisor, Kompe Nashnit or Lake Adoko. Bislandai Nishi dan Leni, Naval Election Administration, Konshama. Kon Ado Bislandal Nishi, Kompe Nashnit or Lake Adin the Kon. He consultant Leni Kon to Yat Ehoko. Benashnit or Lake Ado Salat so dan Leni Kon. Konto Nanda da Holoni Kon. But added the Holoni Kon. Benadil Nit or Lake Adoni, Masando ni Che. Ko studio sani ba da yare da ko da hallo kon de la ba da job bai kon de la ko benashni do le ko Heavenly Father ko da and hoslado I all this in your name Jesus, amen.
Ano na hoegi tsatsambin kainzigi eshin pe do le nasna ado and the speaker she had prior commitment. There's a meeting in New Mexico, so I'll go ahead and run the work session. Already, neighbor work session, Naval Nation Council. And the legislation shields, but say that don't be in the house by yet you see been yeah don't legislation now you try to correct and compromise on some of these differences you see been yeah work session gain don't the national hold on the agenda overview. On purpose of work session. We're getting an update from Board of Election Supervisor on the 2025 Navajo Nation Reapportionment Plan. Do anes na Naabik'iyati the nanal tkhala le atsogo hon kwage United States Washington DC not anin nata netlo the nep enelt agibik not anin not netla based on population. There's usually a reapportionment plan that comes out. Washington no not anin nila House of Representative not ani man not hatso kon beda ilna do and da kon state the house to go hona not allot na nilt gibik ho not hatso la kon hido kwage hot Navajo Nation reapportionment da hadin nada aliande the 24 from 88 to 24 and ita a reapportionment the last time. So cut based on Navajo law a reapportionment issue by Nahol issue kodo a Board of Election yen kitlahad net ole. Under the presentation of the proposed plan following the conclusion of public hearing held across all the 5 agencies in Lego go 5 agencies within the Navajo Nation is bana stay hot yan later never set up it hot yan henat no the it neya hatsi Shan Quaggy yin Hishinda Hadol Net the Board of Election or the public hearing banda stake hit not kada see hal Nikitana not anigi ban not yego shibite the public hearing again. Do in the a kid a summary of the public input and hearing the results. Adabah see Shan Quaggy yin Hislad net or lit ben Hislan net or lit. I'll go ahead and turn the floor over to the presenters. Navajo Nation Board of Election. So to do the presentation, there's also a booklet. Let me go ahead and turn the floor over to Navajo Nation Board of Election.
Ja, het een aan, snant een of lenige. Kdo zien tijd niet zien daar hodil zien. Het ingiet al. She ja da Norman begay when she had dat snant idol da holie kon de she el krijg niet sa het she could not change it no kon de do het da trots dan nie ja da shema to het leni da she Arot laschi da shnale do kilchini da shche ya the nan look ajukada akut ya chinlem khalt so de ajigi ni aj ya shikahodini to represent Chinling agency ako katinda January dot stay ya shikahodini seling Akoho Ado in the Shinant Ado, Honorable Supervisor Noble, Ado in the Shema Supervisor Pete, Darlene Pete from Shiprock Agency, Ado in the Shemanana Supervisor Arlene Kai Brown, Nana Eastern Agency, Ado in the Aya Shema Interim Director, Ms. Curley. Ado in the Bishindale Nishigi, could Akushi Arts Iso set on Hitlashnet or Lechidi, Navajo Board of Election Supervisor, Ninigi, 10 board members, there's not a senil. I Nathan Lenigi, he kides in Ako Snito Aya, staggered term, Mithneko, Ba na eaten it. Ati Nahapik. Na eaten a call Said Anas, in adult Said and needy, and Nana Jot a holgish. A co Adona kid, Sana eat leho, not is it. board members to address the concerns, the issues of election within the Navajo Nation. Ako kodosh nand aya hol negi jiti ya reapportionment ka ba hol jij. Ako kodo ben hitwil net do lehti beni biye. Ako inda ilne shnand no lenigi jo inda ilne le de kodo the Honorable Mitchell ya hatzi na kidemilo ben anezna khahata ita de earlier. Akon di ita ya Supreme Court lenigi ate no hi agi executive branch ne it ilis bit on ni ado in the Board of Election Supervisor ne be la disles bit on ni ita ako ita de earlier ado hoste na hote jiji ya as 2015 she that's in net on so da kunna ya Navajo Board of Election Supervisor gi it's anatnil by the Navajo Nation Supreme Court a day no hot ani no hi I de board igi nachet null and void igi la ako because of the Deschitney case to hutza so ebini na ado ta aliada ako kat inda ba na hol jij ako tin at elshi kodoniche present eletole kodos shinain lenigi Mr. Roger or Larry ado Mr. Roger should no ako ho kot edole ako shi kodoshi shinat ein lenigi shinai go ahead and give you the floor to introduction and adu that kinat got it Mr. Haven, thank you.
Agoshio, yat ben. Ado adaben hit the purpose of the work session. Ishi shahol jizo hey I'll be presenting the 4 plans dolly. I would say probably an hour and a half. I don't know if that's very long for you, but anyway, it's about as much time we spent presenting to the public, up to 2 hours, beyond that sometimes. So Larry Rogers and I retired working with the Navajo Nation government 3 years ago. My last 15 years with the Navajo Nation, I spent working with the Eastern Navajo Land Commission out at Crown Point. So but prior to that, beginning the 1980s, I started working with Navajo Nation tribal statistics. 1980 census bana stage. I put out a booklet, a blue book of the it contained a lot of data on the Navajo Nation, the chapters, the relationships with the counties, overlapping, all these kind of specific data. So, and then later in the years, over about a 10-year period, chapter images, and that did a highlight on all the 110 chapters. The last edition, the 4th edition was the 2004, and it involved a profile of the 2000 census at the time. So it came out in 2004. With all these numbers, but ahnin shlon na sanabasas chin, na Jenny dashichido, balagane dashanal. I'm originally from Tohatchi, New Mexico. So what it's such a don't introduce the Ishlad. Yeah.
Good morning, members, Navajo Nation Council, or Naabik'iyati committee members. My name is Ron Haven. I am working with the election board insofar as providing legal counsel and been assigned to provide advice to board members as well as the election program. Over the years, off and on, I am currently retired. I don't work with the nation as an employee anymore. I've been retired for a number of years, but on contract basis, I've been able to assist the election program. I'm originally from Kilichi, Cross Canyon areas, and my clan on my mom's side is Hanagani, and over my dad's side is Twitachini. So it's a pleasure to be here, so thank you so much.
Taylor, thank you, Chair Begay, and also Mr. Haven. We make up this panel and so forth. Although upon my presentation, there might be certain questions that either the two gentlemen might want to relate to as well. So I guess I can go ahead and go into my presentation now. All right. You do have the handout, plus I understand they're going to be showing the same on the screens up here, but I'm kind of old-fashioned. I prefer the handout myself, and I'll be going through that. In the handout that you got, it's a binded copy. Notice that it's the subtitle of the 2025 Navajo Nation Council Reapportionment. It says 4 draft options. So really there are 4 that we're going to be presenting, 4 different plans. But the word draft really has a meaning at this point in time. Throughout the public hearings, the sets that we provided were in draft. Adon hini datonana today in draft, which of course basically means, as Mr. Mitchell pointed out, Although upon the session today, the Board of Election Supervisors will perhaps have a special meeting to decide to do a resolution to the Navajo Nation Council, its preference, its recommendation. But of course, ultimately, when it comes before the council, the council decides on which to go with the list. And if between today and that period, there might be a chance of modifying any of the 4 that's at the list. That's the board takes that up, and then they decide to work with it in that fashion. The board will be doing a resolution, making its recommendation. So what our leadership. So on to I'm going to do in terms of history. But I said, in 1922, up by Rattlesnake, the Shiprock area, business council, and Kalt Edan has town. The business council, Lisa Ziggy, busy card or Lichat no. What Abeha Hall, Jis. Ninat Ani Nada Nishige, to Haydan Hindasi Nildanand, a hot end, a Arabic for the day Jisa. Nana Habigaha. New regulations were issued to set up a tribal council representing 6 agencies, Western Navajo, Fort Defiance, San Juan, Pueblo Benito, Loop, and Moki. Moki Hopi. And then San Juan was Shiprock Agency. Pueblo Benito was Eastern Agency. So the council, for a 12-member council, had their first meeting in Torrelina, July 7th of 1923. In 1938, the BIA approved the first elections, which was held on September 16th of that year, and the council was increased from 12 to 24. I'm sorry, 12 to 74. And the reason 74 at the time was, at that particular time and period, there were 74 chapters. Okay, 74 chapters, each chapter received a delegate that would be representing them. 1950, the candidates nominated at conventions. The chair and was allowed to choose his or her own vice chair. 1954, tribe Badelia to run its own election affairs, including the establishment of the Tribal Board of Election Supervisors, which to this day exists under a slightly different name. 1975, the first Navajo Nation Council reapportionment was proposed. 1978, the council size was still 74. Leading up to 1982, the council got increased to 88, and that was in place until quite recently. 89, the Title II amendments were done. 1998, Local Governance Act. 2007 to 2010, was in place, the last 88-member Navajo Nation Council. 2009, as pointed out by our chair here, the council got reduced from 88 to 24 based on an initiative referendum that took place Navajo Nation-wide. The Supreme Court somewhat blessed that and asked the office of the president to produce a reapportionment plan for 24. Upon that, the Board of Election Supervisors, so it didn't go to the council, as I understand, at that time. To this day, the council that you sit on, the 24 members, 8 on the Behogas. So through the elections, the first 24-member council was set in place 2011 to 2014. Out of the 23rd, 24th, and now the 25th council, 8 on the Behogas. At the reapportionment every 10 years, not in the year ending in 5. So has uneven this year, the Board of Election Supervisors took on the responsibility to facilitate the reapportionment process. And what it does is the new reapportionment, it sets the stage for the next election of 2026, November of 2026. This January, deadline for the reapportionment to be taken up and considered for approval by the council. Winter session, the Shin Hita not 8 or late. On the next page is some other general information. First of all, the information that we're using for the 4 plans, the basis of it is all 2020 census. Anyway, so related to that, even There's some information here regarding language use. Of course, they usually count people 5 years and older. On the Navajo Nation, 64.8% of our people speak the language. And then to the right, it's broken down by state. Arizona, 80,000. New Mexico, 64,000. Utah, 7,000 people that speak the language. Wyoming, of all places, 234 people speak Navajo. But in terms of by ranking, Arizona, Navajo spoken is number 2 in the state. Number 1 is Spanish in all these states that I mentioned. Just other than language, other than English. Navajo is number 2 in Arizona, number 2 in New Mexico, and number 7 in Utah. And then Wyoming, number 13, ranked 13. So just some numbers there, but other information that shows kind of our Navajo Nation conditions based on the last census. Computer use, 55%. Internet, 30. Actually, because of ARPA and so forth, you develop more towers and so forth. Telephone use, 11%. Dishi landline, I'm sorry, landline. No telephone, 11%. Just 10 years before, it was pretty much the opposite. About 60% that didn't have telephone then. So people without transportation, about 14% out of the household information, the income information, leading down to the poverty rate of 48%, which is about 4 times as much as the national average. So, but regarding the subject at hand, reapportionment, it deals with the number of legislators and the ideal number of people each legislator should represent. A reapportionment, You hear about redistricting as well too. AA on the state side, counties that redistricting. So those populations have to be in an ideal size as well too for each legislature to represent an equal number of people. But as you know, the United States Congress has the 435 House seats and 100 senators. Senators, of course, 2 for each state. The House, the first 50 representatives, each state gets a representative. Upon that, you get 385. Based on the population that change as a result of the decennial census. Here, on the other hand, we strictly deal with the 24 members, 24 areas among the 110 chapters. So the next page shows the congressional districts across the United States. As you can see, in the eastern part of the United States, the areas are quite small. To the west, because of the population makes all the difference as to the size of these districts. The next one, again, as a result of the 2020 census, throughout the U.S., changes in population, even house seats, they get that change down there. So there's in the purple states, pretty much near the Great Lakes and so forth, New York down to the southwest to Illinois, those states lost 1 seat. Out of the white areas, like New Mexico, Arizona, Utah, Nevada, no change. Out of the light green states, they gained a seat. So you got Oregon, Montana, Colorado, Florida, North Carolina doing that. Out of the dark green states, actually it's just 1. Texas, they gained 2 seats. So as you can see on the American side, because of these population shifts, it makes a great difference in terms of redistributing apportioning the House seats among the states. Historically, of course, the last time a reapportionment, the last two times the reapportionment was done, 2002, kind of a black and white map. It shows how the distribution was with the 88 members. Although the color one is the one that was done in 2010, in which that you are a part of right now. So from the historical perspective. The next three tables, they're quite minute numbers. I said there's a lot of numbers to share, so I'm not going to go into it specifically, but what it is table one, we're showing Navajo Nation population for every decade, 1980, 1990, 2000, 2010, 2020. For all the 110 chapters. So it's a good way to, for your individual chapters, as to where the changes are. But the summary, though, in terms of totals, the best count was 2,000 for numerous reasons. It was probably good times. The Navajo Nation had great relationship with the federal government, and Telly the helicopters to count people in remote areas. You said that the federal government put up a lot of money to do the 2000 census. 2010, we lost 7,000 people. To 2020, we lost another 7,000. So it's kind of interesting how it really went up, and then but a lot is attributable to and so forth. So a lot of people have left to nearby and for further areas for better opportunities. But still, on the other hand, the counts were not as good for 2010 as well as for 2020. So the next page, it's kind of rather interesting if you compare it. So what it's doing is comparing 1990, 2000, and 2020 census. How the communities, all the 110 communities, rank by order. So even if you take the 5 top areas, Tuba, Shiprock, Chinle, Kayenta, Fort Defiance, those are your top main Navajo, if you will, Navajo towns or Navajo cities, Even those, they jockeyed for number one here and there. So, but it just naturally happens because of the population changes here and there. So it shows that for all the 110 chapters, how they rank from one census to another up to 2020. So the last of the historical tables, it shows table 3. We're showing population between 2020 census and then 2023 estimates. So when the board look at this, even the estimates for 2023 were lower than 2020 census. So the decision then, of course, was that we would need to go with the 2020 census as mainly because of historic. Each decennial census, 2020 census, he used Ilya for the 4 plans that we're going to be covering. 2023, basically for your information, but it also shows that what estimates can do, even from the federal side. They tend to change quite a bit. So what I kind of the historical context again. Numbers cho ido le for the 4 plans AI sabanahast at the start. Probably the first month that the board spent on beginning to work on this project. The kind of numbers to use, vital records, voters registration, even voters registration only. We attempted to get some stateside information, but that wasn't necessary because as a reservation, as a Navajo Nation, respectively, not that federal government. Beginning in 1980, the Census Bureau chapters holonige yidisensali. In fact, it was because of the push by the Navajo Nation saying that we have these geographies called chapters. Hadet adan hanoth eno federal government nila akolan hanahasolna lila do us a map that we can follow to do that. So the Census Bureau worked with the tribe very close. Dr. Ron Feiss was a statistician for the nation. Chapter map indol nitigi map had dol nitli for 1980 kodahol just map jo bada deal nil Census Bureau but not jo the nedoltra had no bana aste like almost anything when the map came out basa has lean and then it went through the Navajo courts the Adant Supreme Court at then so the Navajo Court of Appeals went ahead and decided to go ahead and approve the map that was being proposed to be given to the Census Bureau. And so that particular map became official and it was decided by the Navajo courts. So it was deemed an official map and that the Census Bureau used it from there on. For the longest time, it was just referred to as the Navajo Nation Census 1980 map. Up until 2000, people that work with maps and so forth, that there is such a map. Binil den BIA den hanin lado alle maps adel ini aji bedanel den shiko ben these two maps, a census map and the map that is used for grazing. BIA grazing district map that showed chapters as well. So Division of Natural Resources, Land Department took a very studious time digitizing the BIA version map. So the ensuing censuses, like I believe was 2000, you get that, a different map was used other than the 1980 census map. Of course, when you compare the changes between the areas, that makes a difference too. Like the chapters, those changes may have been as a result of using different maps. But for the purpose of what we're doing, bringing it back up to current time, we are using what was started out as the 1980 census map. So the last census, 2020, that's the map that was used. So 8 even so that it specifically outlines the chapter where they are. Chapter boundaries as you know, are not legitimate boundaries. Chatot ISA survey dalyada. There are only 4 chapters that have legitimate boundaries. Your satellite reservations and Nahat Atzil. Nahat Atzil because so those were actually surveyed out. Other than that, I don't believe there's any other chapter that has been surveyed. But then, though the way the census counts it, each chapter, like I said, beginning in 1980, they start recognizing it. Okay, within the chapters, yeah, it starts with what is called the hierarchy of the census. It's a yard, you get blocks, yeah, like city blocks. There's over 3,000 blocks that make up the Navajo Nation. Out of the blocks, they're called block groups. So they're little larger areas. Out of the block groups, they're called census tracts. So that's Navajo side. So that's the hierarchy. So up to these block groups. Even 8 block groups each on, eight that pretty much takes the circumference of a chapter area. Okay, for sure, the Nawal on the ground, that's how they're counted. And that's how the census counts people, exactly where they live. So often the word is a snapshot. A snapshot of the population is taken. So that given period, that given time where people were counted, yeah, that's what makes up the official number for that decennial census of that year. So for 2020, so those are the numbers that serve as the basis for the 4 plans that we are covering today. On page 4, I believe, I'm sorry, 14, slide 14, 2025 Navajo Nation Council Reapportionment, comparison of plans. So statistically, summarized, this page shows the summary of all the 4 plans. And so to understand it, let me, just for example, let me go ahead and cover Plan 2. So number of chapters broken down by agency. You have Western 18, Chinle 14, 27 for Fort, 20 for Northern, and 31 for Eastern. That makes up 110 chapters. The next one, it says LRA. I'm just introducing this as a name for the discussion of the process. LRA, Legislative Representation Areas. Hashit noshik your area that you represent. Legislative district, legislative area, hashit yeah. But in this case, it or LRA b'dishneya. From my perspective, meaning a person that was hired to do this, I can't be prejudicial to who's in there right now. And so the next one, it says the next column is Navajo Nation Council the number of delegates. Of course, there's 24. Western has 5, Chinle 4, Fort 6, Northern 4, and Eastern 5. Yeah. Out of the 2020 census, see, next column, Western 35,123, Chinle 25,196, Fort Defiance 39,535, Northern 26,858, and Eastern at 33,800, makes up 160,512 people. So you get notice in each of the plan, that column is consistent from Plan 1 to Plan 4, up and down. It's consistently the same numbers. The differences now between plans 1, 2, 3, and 4. Bahashnek adya. So each of them has a census base. Plan 1 includes an addition of the voters' registration, regardless of where they live. So if you look at Plan 1, off-reservation voters, the total is 45,498. The next one is the total. So the grand total for Plan 1, we're talking about 206,010 people. Ado number 2, Plan 2, if we look at the same difference, again, we're taking into consideration off-reservation voters, but excluding border towns. That number goes down to 8,608. Of course, so that brings the number down a bit. Plans 3 and 4, it only includes population. So that is how the 4 plans are designed. Based on those numbers, that's how the plans were yielded. So on the summary, Plan 1, notice a dark number at the bottom. It shows a standard deviation. The standard deviation is applied only to each plan, one per plan. So for plan number 1, the way to read it is LRA 23 has a population of 11,662. That's the largest, The lowest population for that is LRA 2, which has 6,307. So the difference is 5,355. Okay, you take that number, and then you divide it by the ideal. That's how you come up with the standard deviation of that 62.39%. So now we know how we arrived at each of those. Plan number 1, standard deviation is 62.39. Plan 2 is 58.94. Plan 3 is 54.65. And Plan 4 is 55.31. So all standard deviation Plan 3 sounds like it might be the best. Just looking at but that doesn't mean how the chapters are configured within each agency. There was some misunderstanding that we were already pushing plan number 3. That is not the case. Standard deviation. And so what on let's go ahead and go to the next table. Summary of plan differences. On top you have plan 1, 2, 3, and 4. Nana. It shows the populations that are used in the top blocks, and then the standard deviation for each of the plans, how they're calculated downward. The number of LRAs. This is where it becomes very interesting and important to really understand what's going on. So, in the first plan, notice that, of course, bottom line, it's 24 across. Western Agency 5, look at Chin Lee, it drops to 3. Fort Defiance 6, Northern Navajo 4, Eastern 6. Notice the change in that one. In only Plan 1, it does that. In plans 2, 3, and 4, the numbers go back to the normal, kind of the normal rate where we are currently experiencing. Like under the plan that you're in to this day, your delegation by agency is 5 for Western, 4 for Chinle, 6 for Fort, 4 for Northern, and 5 for Eastern. So what's happening here with Plan 1 is, remember Plan 1 we said, population's the base. On top of that, we add the entire off-reservation voters. When we do that, we really inflate the numbers. And what happens in the nearby areas, in Ninahanzad, Fruitland, Twin Lakes, to the west, Loop, Birch Springs, up to the northwest, Lachie, and so forth, back to the Shiprock area. The outlying chapters you get on the Navajo Nation, a lot of people get their mail in the border towns. And so plan number 1, it inflates those numbers. And there's a great deal of double counting as a result. People that live on the reservation go off reservation to get their mail. So plan number 1, and that's how it results in what seems to be quite a shift. So so that's a thing to keep in mind in terms of deciding among the plans. Plan 2, it relieves the border town addresses again. So people that go off the reservation to get their mail, that's not counted in as a result. The numbers go back down from, remember, 45,000 to 8,000. So 8,000 seems much more, the word I've been using is palatable. Plans 3 and 4 is strictly just population. So the straight numbers. So using the same numbers, same population for each chapter and everything, these plans are designed. None of the 4 plans is the same. And none of the 4 plans is the same as your current one. And the reason why the current one, meaning there were 2 chapters that were brought into the agency from another agency, which should not be the case. Rock Point traditionally is part of Shiprock, but it was counted in Chinle. Low Mountain is traditionally part of Fort, but was counted in Chinle. So 80, that's if any difference, it's going to be that between any of the 4 plans and your current plan. So none of the 4 plans does that. The 4 plans that we have absolutely respects agency and chapter boundaries. We go to LRA summaries, Nanak, at slide 16. So we're comparing the 4 plans again, yeah. Plan number 1, as I pointed out earlier, made a shift from Chinle to Eastern. So as you can see in Plan 1, Chinle only has 3 LRAs, and then Eastern becomes 6. And then so Plan 1, notice that there's a 1 in every LRA. There's 1 for every LRA, yeah. Other than the LRA number itself, which is 1 through 24. So each one has a 1, meaning when we look at the maps, Plan 1, that map is the for Plan 1, that the way it's designed comes up the very first time. That's why they're all once. Plan 2, it takes from Plan 1 and it goes on, but using, remember, different numbers in this case. Reduced number of off-reservation voters. So Plan 2 tends to become its own, kind of its own identity now. As you notice, most of the numbers in that column is 2, except for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times. One you get Auto Plan 3, there's a lot of number 1s in there again. So it tends to mimic Plan 1 again. In some cases, for Chin League, there's a Plan 3 that shows up. That means that's the one on its own under Plan 3. It only exists like that under Plan 3. Auto Northern Johonana, there's 3 times that 3 shows up. Auto Eastern, you get 4 times. So as you can see by the map design, you go, certain of the plans tend to make up its own. So that means it's different from one another. Auto Plan 4, it's really a mixture of some of the previous nana. You got 1 repeating, 4 comes up by itself several times, nana. So it has its own identity by that, nana. So just looking at this shows you that the 4 plans, they're all different. So, in terms of the statistics, we go to slide 17, looking at Plan 1. Well, actually, the next few pages all the way up to, it should be a set of 3, so about 12 pages. That's they're detailed data that shows the chapter population. Again, for Plan 1, it includes off-reservation voters, its total population, and so forth. Since the interest here is all 5 agencies, it's hard for me to concentrate on just one, though. But let me go ahead and go to Plan 2 on page 20 again. Just example of how this plan, how you view these tables, though. And so these are what I covered before. The summary is it's broader. So for each agency, they're much more separated statistics. Mainly by chapters. Ingredients that summary page. I guess that's a way to look at it analogy-wise. So slide 20, Plan 2, Western Agency, for example. You have the 2020 population, off-reservation voters, and then your total. Again, the total is what we use, So the total for Western, 36,532. 80. Then that is used to work with the ideal number, So. And what it yields to right away is it calculates the number of delegates for you. So if you look under the total LRA total, the total at the very bottom is actually a fraction, 5.18. This is 5.18 is closest to 5. So what that helped yield was that Western would have 5 delegates over here on the left corner, on the left total, yeah. On the left second column total, yeah, that's how it helped yield that number. And then it shows the difference between for each LRA, yeah. For example, if you look at LRA 1, which is Lachit, Badaway, Kabito, Coppermine, and Tonalea, their population is 8,301. The difference between that and the ideal is 1,254. So it yields a variance of 17.79%, which is not as bad as number 4, LRA 4, which is 29.84. But still, remember the numbers that standard deviation, yeah, these numbers are all between that standard deviation numbers. Again, it falls in there. Notice that in LRA 4, 4,944, on your copy, it should show as highlighted. This is a highlighted yellow, that number, yeah. On the total plan for Plan 2, that number is the lowest, with the lowest population. Although when we go to the next page, I believe that should show Fort Defiance Agency. Notice that they're in red for LRA 15. It shows a population of 9,097. So that number and the previous number I mentioned are the lowest and the highest for Justice Plan 2. And then when I summarized it, yeah, these numbers were kicked into the summary, and that's where we got the standard deviation. But in each of the cases, though, for each agency, you could be able to see the population differences as well as the variances. So that number, the one with the highest, the shnana, is positive 29.9% as the highest, and then the other one, 4,944 population, the variance was negative 2984. So in terms of variance, so variance to standard deviation, then it gets a little confusing, but standard deviation applies to the entire plan. Variance, per chapter, per area, per LRA. So I'm pointing out how you basically read the charts or the tables for each of the plans. So plan, let me go ahead and go to the end of Plan 2 just to summarize it, yeah. So we end with Eastern Agency as the final table on page 22. And then below that, we show the total of the 24 delegates, total population of 160,512 people. Voters registration reduced again, 8,608. We're working with a total of 169,120. So the ideal population makes it 7,047. That's the ideal number, yeah. What I highlighted, yeah. LRA 15 has 9,097. LRA 4 has 4,944. A difference of 4,153. That divided by the ideal, that's how you come up with the standard deviation, 58.94. So in terms of the more detail, coverage.
Mr. Rogers, Mr. Biquet has a question.
Oh, Yati, thanks for the presentation, yeah. It looks like you're going over the same thing over and over, and you say, number 3, give favoritism, yeah. Why don't you go and pick number 3, and why you guys are kind of like leaning towards 3? Use that one more, because the people that are listening out there want to hear what they want to vote for or what we're going to vote for, yeah. So go to 3, and from 3, why you kind of favor that, and I know 1, 2, and 3 are not in the picture, but you said right from the get-go, you kind of favor 3, Gia. So why 3 is kind of in the front running, Gia? Explain, go by 3. Explain why 3 is favored and tagging, and you can go off of that one. Thank you.
All right, Hagoshia, thank you for your question, Ms. Delegate Bikeo. Maybe I should clarify that. Remember, I also said we're not necessarily favoring any of the 4 Githanat. We want to just present it as 4 plans. The board will then be recommending one. Where 3 sounds like it's favored, you get, it has to do with the standard deviation, you get. Of the 4 plans, you get, plan 3 has the best standard deviation. It's the lowest in number. So 80 but just leave it at that. We're not saying go with 3. We're not recommending that at this point at all. So the board is going to have to decide what to recommend. On my part, again, I'm really just presenting the numbers, the information to you, and I can't be biased. Help me picture this. Let's go to an empty white room. Nothing but a white room. There are white chairs sitting there. 110 white chairs. Each chair has a label on it, the population number. Each chair, 110 chairs, and they're not even marked by chapters, but with the numbers, yeah. But we start to identify these numbers with what chapter it is. So first we have to divide the chairs into the agency. By agency, 5 groups of chairs, without being further apportioned to by a district or by an area. So, my work is exactly that. I can't see faces in these chairs, for example. There's 110 chairs. There's 100 and. So now we're divided up into the 5 agencies. These chairs, they're still blank. They're still blank. It's got nobody in it and so forth, but it has a population label on it. The population label, then you configure a set of chairs that would represent an LRA. A legislative representation area. So for each agency, then, you come away with Chinle, for example, you come away with 4 groups of chairs. For Northern, it's the same. For, Eastern, my work, dealing with these empty white chairs with labels on it. Now we're grouping them by legislative areas. These plans are then developed, and then the statistics behind it, and then we come up with a plan. As a delegate, you occupy a seat. You represent an area. They see you and represent a certain area. So and my job was very hard because of the way I'm explaining it. It's been that my number one thing that I have to work with is being impartial. I said the favor just in the halini. So the number is what drives everything. Of course, so up to the point where these plans were put together, although the board decided to go ahead and let's go ahead and publicize it, have public meetings. So as a result of the public meetings, the to the actual plan, people that intently went there to address the reapportionment itself, they had some valid points. A lot of them are just gripes. And you're probably going to hear that from the board's report anyway, and I don't want to reiterate any of that. And so numbers, any auto plans had a nahi 8 shiyane develop 4 plans in the RFP that was announced, publicized, and higher so we got the plans pretty much done by early October. We went to public hearings the last week of October. So up through that time, plus to this day, notice in your handout it has draft in it. So after today, that word is going to change to probably propose. To the Nabi and then to the council. So it's kind of interesting, you know. Of course, there are probably much more delegates listening in on the virtually. Delegate McGay, I'm sorry, I'm not favoring Plan 3. I'm not favoring Plan 3. By standard deviation, so that's what that was. I hope that clarifies it. I really wanted to, and the reason why I cover it, I just went to Plan 2 because there's 4 of them, and I went to Plan 2 because that's a sample I could use. I could have used Plan 3. That probably would have satisfied what you're saying, but anyway. Of course, so statistics, I cover it. Maps, I'll cover that next. So beginning on page 29 is the first map. When you look at the 4 plans, they all look so innocent. Meaning, they're kind of pleasing to look at. It's kind of interesting. The 4 plans. Okay, let's go to plan number 1. In terms of the added population of the off-reservation voters, regardless where they live, that's map number 1, plan number 1. So it does have that effect. So, areas, LRA areas 6, 7, and 8. That's Chin Lee. So that means Chin Lee only has 3 delegates under this plan. The shift again goes to Eastern, So you have 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, and 24. So A6 delegates, the 6 they picked up a delegate now, as a result of the population, the data that we used. So that's really the major difference. Kaya pandahasoge, hadahasoge, LRA zike yahe. It tends to have a good meaning. It tends to have a good flow. In Western, you get LRA 4, however, tends to be a very, very large area. And that's one of the things that we heard at the public hearing in Western. I said, as it is, our chapter is the largest chapter of the entire nation. No, although, of course, rank number 2 is Herfinau in terms of chapter size, but we're not dealing with chapter sizes. But here we're dealing with how the LRA 4 is spread all the way from the Colorado River down to Bird Springs. So it's a very, very large area. And again, the difference in population, you get a plan 1, you get using the numbers. Plan 2, notice that right away, what is corrected for like Western, you get LRA 4, all the way from the Colorado River to Bird Springs. Look how it got reduced. So it seems like it's quite manageable. One point I should make is your large towns of Shiprock and Tuba, across the board on all 4 plans, they get 1 delegate. Chinle changes at one time, but in this case, it gets 1 delegate too. So that's the 3 top communities that are like that, where they get a delegate, and you're familiar with that. But Plan 2, notice what it does with Eastern. So we're back to the normal distribution of the number of delegates per agency on plans 2, 3, and 4. 1, you get, that's the only one that was different in terms of delegate distribution per agency. So you look at Eastern in this one, you have the 5 areas, and then note that the satellite reservations are split. They're not being represented by 1, like you saw in Plan 1. So in this Plan 2, they're split, where Tuajale, Alamo is tied with Theru, Baca, and Smith Lake area. Although Rama is tied together with Chichimbito, not Chichimbito, Chechilta, Red Rock, Menlito, and so forth. So they're relatively close in that area. So when you split up the 3 satellites, it relieves a lot of tension in the remainder of the Eastern Agency. Right now, you have a delegate that represents 8 chapters. This reduces that from the most one person would represent is 7 chapters instead of 8. So that's a major difference. And the reason why that happens is because the satellites, again, they're split. At the Eastern Agency public hearing, Rama, a couple of people spoke, and the main speaker was saying we don't want to be grouped with anybody else other than ourselves. Ourselves meaning the satellite reservations. So when that happens, it really constrains the rest of Eastern Navajo. Somebody in Eastern Navajo will have to represent 8 chapters again when that happens. There's no way around it in terms of doing it any difference. Because we have to deal with the number 24. There's no way we can change that either. There were public statements saying we need more delegates. Why don't you do a plan to show a higher number? No. So most of the people speaking at the public hearings were much against the council size as it is, and so forth. But at two of the public hearings, you signed that petition to reduce the council from 88 to 24. You didn't need at two places. There wasn't the same speaker, but it was at two different places. A spokesperson said that. So I think that kind of hushed things down a little bit in terms of that type of conversation. I said plan there wasn't that many. The staff did take a tally of which plans would be favored, and I'd rather have you hear from them on that. So plan 2, you heard Mr. Begay, I'm sorry, were you still listening? Oh, okay, you could, even in the bathroom? Oh, cool. That's good. I'm glad you heard me all the way around. Page 31 is plan number 3. Again, not favoring this, but I'm just covering it, the differences, Inanna. So remember, plan 3 and 4 are population only. Oh, map, it doesn't. You don't see that, but you know that's how it is, Lily. 3 and 4 is strictly population, yeah, and it tends to do a relatively better job. The lower standard deviations were among these two plans. 3, it regroups the satellites into one, yeah. But it puts a strain on the other chapters, like I said. LRA 20 has to be represented. It's 8 chapters again. Has to be represented by one person, one delegate. So that strain is there because of the recombination of the satellite reservations.
I'm sorry. Since they're really close to one another, since chapters are very close to one another, like Little Water and Smith Lake, I think that's what it says right here. Can't you just combine like 2 chapters to one?
Well, first of all,
Centers. We were told to combine 2 senior centers. That way we're not, some of them are just like 10 miles down the road and I mean, they're less than like 15 miles down the road. If they can just be combined, and I represent Kaibito, that area. So, and then by the way, in Gap, they're telling the truth because that's a big land base that's that area, yeah. And there's by the way Gap chapter, and then there's Cedar Ridge, Bitter Springs, and Navajo Spring. There's like 4 community into that one chapter. So instead of just looking over 5 chapters, it's like you're looking over 4 communities in that Gap chapter. It's just all the way down Highway 89. So, I mean, if it's going to be, if this is what I'm seeing over here in 20, Bitter Spring and Navajo Spring could come together, and Botaway Gap and Cedar Ridge could come together. That just adds on another chapter there. So that's the way I see it, because, they're not two, they're one from Botaway Gap all the way down to Navajo Springs, probably like about 34 miles. So, but the Cochite, they're just, some of them are less than 15 miles apart. So I don't know if that's just what I'm throwing out there, so.
Yanonate, Rogersville, Mr. NB, Von Henry. I'm looking at these maps and the way the whole Navajo Nation's, the map, the coloring gear. I think what you guys should have done, had a better plan on how, it's like a blue, right there at the, was that Loop, Bed Spring and all that area, with that pink that's within that block, yeah. They're so close right there, you could put 5 of those together and cut that 4 right there where the Hopi reservation line is, I think, and then put Cameron up there with the other one that's way up there close to him. Botaway Gap and the other one up there, and then take it Copper Mine, Kabito, and the Chi. I think, being a delegate, there's a lot of miles to be covered. You guys should consider with these big, like 8 chapters, the most complaint that we get is the antak, the meeting. But nobody tells the community chapters that Window Rock is our headquarters. They don't listen to, we try to tell them that, our main office, our main duty is up in Window Rock. You want to come see me, come up to Window Rock, right? When you look at, let's take for instance, over here, Taru and Smith Lake, all that area, Mariano Lake up to Taru, those are like in the same area now. Then the delegate can fly through those meetings because they're no more than 30 miles apart. But these other ones, and some of these chapters like Crown Point, Vicente, Standing Rock, they're so close, they're within 15 miles, yeah, maybe 10 miles apart. And even they're so close right there, they're within maybe 25-mile radius, yeah. You could easily, and then over here at Coyote Springs, though, Aggie, I think you guys should look at the geographic area. Instead of this census number, because at the end of the day, yeah, when everybody votes, I don't care if it's Shiprock, they can't even make quorum. Tuba City can't even make quorum. Chinle can't even make quorum. At 17, all these big areas with one council delegate, yeah. Besides Shiprock, they should add 2 more chapters to that area. Chinle, what there? Tuba City, what there? Not all these people go to these meetings, 8,000 voters, okay? So you have to consider that on this chart. Yes, it looks good on paper, but in reality, you get chapters, that's where we're hurting. Some of them don't even have monthly meetings because they can make quorum. if you go back and look at all their sign-in sheet, they'll give you an answer right there.
Just enough for a quorum.
If you look at Ajo Banso case, maybe some of these chapters like Ron, Helena, Ningita, combine some of the areas where you could make quorum and, like, chapters within 15-mile radius. Like the senior center in Ningita, they thought about it, but then it's like a gang member, right? Or so I wish we were, as a delegates, should have been kind of in this plan from the get-go. How would we give you an input? I think the most a delegate should have is at least 4 or 5. And maybe this is the time to open the door back up to revamping the delegates to maybe 28, 30 maybe. If you go that route, it'll leave the stress on a lot of these chapters, because no, that's the one answer that we get every time, So, I like what you guys did. There's some good numbers. The numbers that you have here compared to United States citizen count, which is good. Thank you.
Let me go back to the agenda before the adjutant hits on the door. So, based on the agenda, your presentation on the maps. The other one on the agenda is the public input hearing results. B, going by the agenda, a discussion. So the Kodoshnant on the discussion again. So let me go with Delegate Ms. Begado.
Just one more quick one. The chapter meetings go, yeah. Sometimes they put their chapter meeting the same day. So sometime I raced from Kaibito all the way to Botaway Gap. And I put my life on the line. And just to race from Kaibito to Botaway Gap, it's almost like an hour's drive. And, you're expected to be there, or else we don't see you. Then another time is Copper Mine, does it with Kaibito too. Tanalia does that. So they always plan their chapter the same day, and you're racing from one place to another. So, and I try to tell them that, this is how it is, but that's it. Back to you, Chair Pro Tem.
Let me go back to Mr. Rogers to cover the four plans again. I'll go to the staff again on the public hearing results. Then we'll go ahead and, based on the agenda, go to B. Although the last one again, it'll be next step follow-up assignments again. So, Mr. Rogers, I think you covered most of the plans. Although maybe you want to wind down, and then we can go to the results.
Okay. Again, thank you. The comments they're being made. In under the current, one person represents 8 chapters. Yeah. We try to work with it as much as we can where those numbers can be reduced. But again, for Eastern, what makes the difference is whether the satellites are together or not together. When the satellites are split, like in Plan 4. Plan 4, it splits Torajale, Elmo with Theru, Baca area, and then Rama with the Chechalta, Manlito, Red Rock area, AD. What it does, it relieves tension in the rest of the Eastern Agency. So instead of one person representing 8 chapters, it drops down to 7. 7 is the most anyone could represent, Dolly. And Plan 4, LRA 20, so which is pretty much based out of the Crum Point, Standing Rock, Vicente, Lake Valley, White Rock, that area. So there's 7 chapters instead of 8. And then as mentioned before, the closer together, the grouping for Area 20, LRA 20, is much, much better than it is now, than the current plan, where that person represents 8 chapters, including Herfinale. But Herfinale is now included with the 520 corridor, not 520, 550 highway from Bloomfield to Cuba. Like a necklace, just age those chapters. So they're in common. A Plan 4, and the difference again is the difference is the satellites. So in 2 of the plans, the satellites are split. 2 of the plans, they're staying together. Where they stay together, that's when the representation in Eastern Agency, one area still goes back up to 8. So that's the difference. So, Otto in Plan 4, one of the main differences in Western, where Danahozo is added to Area 2 and kind of taken away from Area 5. Although Area 1 is a bit more without Bodaway being part of that area. So, but then again, it makes Area 4 quite elongated. If you were to group Bodaway back with Area 1, it would make the rest of 4 so much it would just shoot the the standard deviation out ice at the tornado little.
Solution
Yeah.
to everything.
In
Big-
Plan 2, it groups Bodaway with in Area 1, so it really reduces the amount you get for Area 4. But that's about the best you can do. Again, it's the numbers again that tends to make the averages as close as possible to equal populations. Not any. So Mr. Mitchell, to present these but you have other things on the agenda as well.
Hakushia, let's go down to the last part of this presentation, which will be the public input or hearing results again. So I'll go ahead and turn it back over. Ishitidole.
Nana, Tunantai, the Honorable Navajo Nation Council, Mr. Mitchell, Mr. Begay, and Ms. Begay, Ade, online, Tunantai, Dice Nultsagi. Ako, Judy, Akat Ningit, Oda, Tunal, so stay up a car. the Navajo election is supposed to be an independent entity. There should be no influence from outside. It's supposed to be impartial. We advertise on the radio. I went on the radio myself to advertise the public hearing. Although we put it in the social media, although in the we put it in the newspaper. Advertise Ilya do flyers do chapter meeting go da banda huilno. Ilya ako jadik at next week sa dahoyos kaso in the Navajo Board of Election Supervisor gi ye la to le to recommend ile to le khedi gi khashi in hich huil neto lechen and I no lenigi. Ako diet os can be card nengit it's this egg at hich huil ne. Ako ho just sahigi ainle Eastern Agency de ba Ilya. Ako ho de public hearing gilsa ba Ilya. Ado hostet nana 45th Agency ba na Ilya. Bike on the in lead kahot zogi. Ado ding on the Northern Agency. Ado a kid yige ainle Western Agency de. Kut betradi kreseling. Ako begin hasnel. Ado in the Asia Italia. Ado survey Italia. Choka exhibit and lead or lech, but not that or lech. Ako di onel ilgo plan one again nil ilgo Trats at that's plan one again a favor each. Ado in the Ashlaatako plan 2. Ado plan 3 Tratsata Nana 13. Ado plan 4 Shla. Ado in the current plan J4 bidi nenige just Ilya Ado survey we gave them out. It was on the website. Akot like Yohanahin there. We had a deadline on that. Akot akonde kodod shana and then git agade ditsagi jo beshma has anan lenki ni naha is niligi naha han zanla. Akot disits benina an Beshma has anan lenigi la the hondo tlich. Jano the quid lida ye had the hasi. A conde jo behes ani baholno old nehoshi dod nich a conde ya initiative. Jod later bend the hodist up with the old not bitchin not ahadasi a koshi shnant I no lenigi shin hasilla. Dole. Ako di alki not adole sto board to keep it wheelne let's at the hoyos castle bi ado shin da Naabik'iyati that's niche wheelne depending on the assigned by the speaker. It might go through all the committees. I don't know. 18 also skishi a kut an hil isjan esladole shnant einer lenige
Hey, Gashi. In the number 3 ge work session overview ge elsko ilia presentation. In the discussion, challenge and solution. Could shnant I don't like ye khatzi ishi baka ola. Do le in the quite ge shahwi do tahui dish could have been shnashigi ne hotela. There's usually a lot of pros and cons. The state of Texas, the state of California, Nahatzo, it's based on representation. Based on party, Republican and Democrat. So, the state of New Mexico and Arizona. We were heavily involved in Navajo Nation. And human rights, Navajo Nation human rights. Yego inashnish. Khala yego the Naabik'iyati human rights, the Navajo Nation human rights was heavily involved with the reapportionment for the states again. I don't know what your goals was. Usually you develop a goal. One of the goals might be contiguous. Compact. The only problem would be the satellite. They're not contiguous. Make sure that they're compact, they're contiguous. The other one that usually comes into play is community of interest. Community of interest. An example might be Nechuska Mountain, how does the community of interest, a community on this side of the mountain versus the community on the other side, those might come and play. Although the most important one is probably trying to get equal population. So deviation comes into play. Making sure that there's equal representation. But when you look at the deviation, one of the examples that you gave was that one of the representation had 6,000, 5,000, another 9,000. So that's a big difference. A big difference of 5,000 population for representation. So, although the other one, the Kodoya Hadzi, distance, that's where the compact comes in. The compactness of your reapportionment. So, those are probably some areas before you come back to Navajo Nation Council to get it approved. I guess what was the goal? How did you get this? Plans submitted yagi. Ishi kodo Navajo Nation Council ye latle. Ishi needs dalia. So for myself, I told some of the chapters, I said, make your comments. If you want to pass a resolution, fine. But next week, you'll be making your recommendation. I guess 1, 2, 3, and 4, however, I don't know. Isn't other without the legislation to get to before council by fall session. So those are just some comments that I have. Although within that foundation we're unique. On the outside, they can go through county lines and all that. But we're chapters. So in the census, they call it subdivision. Working with land department, Navajo Nation census, using one of the maps that was approved, grazing maps. One of them, so although the other one, which makes it a challenge, is the last census, 2020. Because of COVID, others don't get especially the state of Arizona, Navajo County and Apache County. The count wasn't completed, especially in Apache County. When time ran out because of COVID. But then nobody wanted to work. Only from other states and it's still didn't get all the counts, so that made it a challenge. Although one question that I have on 1 and 2 is, how did you get your voters registration? I guess you went to the election office and got all the names and where they're registered and got that number. So I think I heard Mr. Rogers say that they might be double counted. So that would be my question, Mr. Rogers, on how you guys got your voters registration. Hagoshi.
Thank you for your question, Delegate Mitchell. Regarding plans 1 and 2, the baseline you get is still the 2020 census. For Plan 1, you get the voters registration information is kept by the office, and it's also maintained by DIT. DIT has the database for all the registrants, all the voters. So regardless of where they live, as long as they're registered to vote, the DIT maintains the data. Of course. So when we started, we wanted to have DIT present the data on that. Their response was, we're not responsible for it. Election administration, work with them, should need. And so the election administration has information by agency. So the agency staff provided the current registry information to the central office. The central office then provided me the data. So right away that was considered to be used in addition to the 2020 census. Plan 1, Plan 1's lane, because the data was already being provided by the office of election office. As the discussion went on with the board, the double counting started to be quite apparent. The recommendation then came from the administration. We can alleviate border towns. It'll take care of that double counting. Registrants in Salt Lake City, Albuquerque, Phoenix, and further out, whatever. A Plan 2 gets a lane, part of Plan 2. So that's why the registration numbers came from off reservation, it ended on 45,000 to 8,000. So 8,000 in on that seemed much more meaningful. Your current plan, what you're on, that's how it was done in 2010. It included off reservation registration. And I don't recall what the actual numbers were, but that's how the current plan was set up. That's how it was approved. So 80. So some sets of keeping with history, even plans 1 and 2. Plan 3 and 4 is strictly just population, yeah. So I hope that answers your question.
Kasi, doon na natin kitigi, isi natin kitito when you're going through the process, NABI, and then also Navajo Nation Council. Staff, is there anybody that has their hands raised in terms of delegates? I guess, yeah, one of the questions is, for the public, where can they see the plan? Is it on your website? That'll be one of the questions. Mr. Begay, Delegate Begay.
Oh, yeah, no, te. Tika surveyed all that, Ningi. You mentioned that you guys are gonna have a board meeting, right? And discuss gather all the information, and then come up or vote on a plan that you guys think that the public would like, or comments they give based on that, right? Numbers. My question would be, how would it be too late to add numbers back to the delegates? I know they say that but we got, as the way it is, it looks like we're 48 delegates, yeah, with their LDAs. There's money there. So, you're being stealing my name. Can we work something out, see if we can fit that? Maybe this would fit into the referendum vote, maybe, for the 2026 election? Because a lot of chapters, like I said, 8 delegates for 1 delegate is too much. They don't make all the meetings, they, like my satellites, they have meetings all on Wednesdays now. Going from Elmo to Rama to Torchy, I can't make it. So these are the problems that, each delegates have. Some of them have more than I have, so maybe I can sit down with you guys and discuss how we can up the numbers for the delegates. I know the money is there. I don't know if you can give me a call or email me, and how can we add more numbers to the delegates again? Now that you got all the numbers, I know there's a lot, like in Bernalillo County, Albuquerque, Phoenix, the Flagstaff, there's a lot of these people that live over there, yeah. There's a lot of voters from there, urban voters, but Ningi. So I know that Tuachile, there's a lot of outside voters there. I didn't know that until we started really getting into these voting counts again. But we can't hold, these people from voting, yeah. At the chapter level, we can't really talk about stuff like that, if you can give me some time at your office, maybe I can drop a legislation to increase the delegacy for these 8. Maybe we can somehow fit it into this reapportionment. He knows how it was done in 2010, I think it was. I think it'd be easier to do. I don't know. I know that my 3 satellites, they want to stay by themselves. Yeah, let it be known that that was Sanagi, Asati, because our land status and everything is different. If you guys put us with these other ones, it's going to be very difficult because the other chaps is going to say, it's going to confuse a lot of people. The way we, the way we do our land withdrawals. Navajo Nation takes about 15, 20 years to get a land withdrawal. So, so, and then we have individual lockies that own lands. So, let's comment, and I'd like to have a meeting with you guys and invite me, maybe here within a week or so. We'll talk, discuss, and have a meeting, if it's possible, how we can drop the legislation to maybe include, add in the delegates, maybe 5 or 6 of them back to these delegates that have 8 or 9, 8 chapters. Thank you.
Let's go down to C, next step. Follow-up assignments. Upping the numbers for the Navajo Nation Council delegate. I know that was established by initiative, so these go back through the same process. Assignments. So let me go to the next item, which is next step. Thursday is your meeting, then what comes after that, and then follow-up assignments again. So, Board of Election Supervisor.
Again, good morning, honorable delegates, member of the 25th Navajo Nation Council, do staff Nitlenigi, and Chief of Staff, Mr. Rico, do identification and Delegate Honorable Mitchell. It is the website, Navajo Election Administration, doing the Delegate Brigade. I will put you on the agenda on Thursday to the next step at Ninigi. Thursday go. The 11th, 9 o'clock. At Quality Inn, room 107B downstairs. At that time, we will probably, 9 a.m., address your proposal. Do nana na idos kito kut en kito nidigi. Okay, Hakushi. So the next igishin to a kodo national dahi kedishi ashin bet il nito the nil the nanit to the nanit ya beshmas anan lengi basi tie kodet shma anan git shin le the betkadanza ako nishma anan le you put your life on the line. That anything na ane occupation has anabasi tibini na they go to increase the numbers. Those are some of the justification that we heard. The process a bahuzen thank you.
So I'll go back to Delegate Brigade.
Oh, Nana, I don't the pink sheet that you guys gave out, the proposed reapportionment plans, bekaide. You have the total numbers down below, Plan 1, 2, 3, and 4. There's 13, 15, 13, and 5. And you have all the agencies that has 1, 2, 1, 2, 2, 2, 1, double cop. So are you telling me this is all the attendance you had during the public hearing? This is very, very low number. Very low. So, that's just what my question is, so, back to you, Pro Temp.
Board of,
Yeah, let me, I'm sorry. These are the one that responded. D-date, Eshma. There is more. A, ya sign in sheet. D-A, there's more. A, line khaniya. D-A, ya. A, they responded. Da yilagi date. A, date, let me make that correction. So we have more participation. These are just the one that responded. Thank you.
Would have been, it would have been nice if you shared how many, your sign-in sheet and all that. Would have been nice to see how many people participated in your public hearing. Okay, thank you.
kasi, kada the assignment, you need to so, make another column, how many signed in for each of these public hearing. Kada na delegate. Kaigi bakagi kada hasigi the numbers that spoke or made their comments. I need to later, even my chapter said, I don't get baho 45 it's not state, no. So, and then my response to them was that we have, for Defiance Agency, we have 2 representatives. Maybe they can come to the chapter meetings, or we can host 5 chapters with the snow. I don't know if that would be possible for the representative to attend, to provide information out there to the chapters, not just to go to the Board of Election meeting. So we have 2, I believe we have two representatives. Maybe they can go to the district meetings or agency council meeting. That way they don't have to be running around to all the other meetings. That'll be my question.
Yeah, it's Nana. Agency, agency. I did present shift for like I said, I represent Chinle, so I went to Chinle Agency Council twice to present this. The 14 chapters within Chinle Agency. So I believe the 45th agency as well. They did that. Ado adet ni je sign o sai shi a benadi lin skado e hut edo lechnada.
Although we have Delegate Took that wants to ask a question. So Snandai, naho atoli. Staff.
Problems I see is lack of presentation. I didn't go to any of it because how we operate is not fair enough to the people. But I'd like to know if these people make comment, are you going to present that to us, which plan, or they have their own plan? A lot of them are disappointed the way it's going at the last minute. at the last minute, everything. There should be another consultant besides Mr. Roger. There should be another individual out there. We have people out there can do better job. So, the other thing that you have to think about is I represent 8 chapter. If I get money allocated to my chapter, let's say $8 million, I have divided that to 8 chapters so that we only get $1 million. I call if other council delegate gets extra money, let's say you have 5 chapters that you oversee, $8 million divided by 5, at least they're getting $1.6 million. So that's not fair. Also, the distance on house la adasla li bethadanza bethandadika. So right now it's very hard to catch up with all the 8 chapters that I go. I try my best to be at these chapters, but I kept telling, hey, why can't you scale it on the weekends? Got out of the last minute, public education, public lahat idan, they should have their own plan how they fit so they can to me, this is a rough job, and I don't think I'm supported at the council unless some changes are made. Chapter is council delegate. Let's say about 4 or 5 throughout the nation. 5 go. In Jondole, Coedo, over chapter and we need to stay away from population. In population, they need the numbers. In sovereign nation, why can't we just stay away from the state? How they do it on here? I did sponsor 48 landed on the attorney. So it's been there for ever since 3 years ago. 48, Jonathan Nansen. The last hour he vetoed. So it's still there in the attorney's office. I don't know where it's at. Referendum so what are they on it? Because just like Danny Sampson and myself, Mr. Toth, we had to cover 8 chapters. So 6 to 5, we get the things in. So not able on it literally. Like 8 chapter, you have to go way out there. So I hit a hasa, hit a ne. But thank you.
So I'll go ahead and turn the floor back over to the presenters.
Yat Ehnana, Honorable Tolt, I didn't identification and I. Did bedelnishly was in has that March 2020 25 I didn't bedelnish. Ako there's obstacles earlier this in da ilne there's obstacles, there's challenges that we had to go through. I'm not making any excuse. Akondelacho di benina kwed. Bicha ta holla. Ako an hillato. Navajo Nation llato we're an obstacle kwege. Ako di de koduisi kanigi shanai jo ya benal sosigi ya soul source kon khalle soul source ko tskin lo kodo akato le jo kot zaye to ta job be el engit yeah, procurement, that delayed about 3 to 4 months. Ako aro in the AD 164 process, nana. Ako dana da shin da contract hasign elia. And it took that long. Almost a year. Ako hashnit. There's a lot of red tape. There's a lot of bureaucracy. Ako, we need to cut that. Akot cook benina akoden hikonan hitin ashi ni o akonde. Although kwege bruad ahobchina iliadot our contract signed iliad and this is very critical. Ba si ba hasti benina unle chobiti nido konzate en hitholjish. Akoshinant ein hin hiholne. We'll put it to table and kodoe ya 24 ibe on stodlich kade kodoe hit doch nenegi presented now she dort nicht oh akonde chokonde nchen haselag nchen shin dan he kodok we're just going to recommend shnant day hot edolich. Thank you.
Delegate Daniels, so I'll go ahead and yield the floor to Delegate Daniels.
Nisha, there's a Nisha, I don't even put in here in the house in Ecuador. Navaja, Ecuador, I install on the hall, the Zuko. I what they install on the gate, the Tana, the gate, so what's on the Tati and there is a Tato, Quagonams, not all what in Stekat, but Kodo the gate, I was looking at the maps and also the gate, install, Kodo the gate, public hearings, they no the gate. At all 5 agencies, the Western Agency, doing the public hearing about that, they've done a to a city there. So the great agency could do hinge kid or the Dona could obey hard or the young great to the city. I seen Nizar could the way or said, Adonana Nasus on the Quilla 8 and the other has called Yada Sweeland Soya Codoba and just case ago. According I see the net husband, the Hona, the kid had tennis like in a way that Navajo man Nasus on the very pie mesa as the kid had or said, Nikena on it, Unquete. The very top part of Neke, court. I see Nita, what be there. So, Oba first case of Hajoba Nahon Dona Hajo, the never spell on Jonathan Legend play ban first case of Adona and a day. I was looking at the plan again, a day 1, 2, 3, and 4. I could think at the egg on a day. If you travel from chapter to chapter, for example, one of in my region, the day was J2. Only not as large, but at death widow. Not Kibiga. At times, the chapter meetings, planning meetings, at the same time, in the Shabiga, and that Lego, Nizad, I call the match and that's Eagle. Hanan Island button, hit up a cork or get type a court, the egg or the teed. You have to go all the way around the way down to the next day. I don't sound taught a beacon, I don't the yard, when they you tagoya. Oh, I ain't done a great not to find it. Ah, but just get out, I said, nah, hunty, I cannot keep I call a great, I thought a great that on the 88 and die in a great question. I can make District 8 Council, what I could have been here, not jig on a great. As a year ago, I can stand on it. When Sano, I can deal, Mr. Hall, Zico. The great to the next day, though. She'll be taught and hot, so the old jet District 8 Council, what I been here, not your hall, Zico. I don't quite on a great, not the house, so the 8 24, as you are. Kwezo idan ki so the guy was there to the guy not on adonan swapi kendo sha to idan ki so the a kozo da pa da enel ten hal na hoti de a hote de kodo na guy pe tan vargi te hoti de a kono guy da New Mexico je do e da to a but had a quarter but tried a quarter the stand the day I Kabadi Kajay has Anigi, a year for Western Agency. A call Adonana Kodo, Hazona the North, Isigi Kodona Gaitam, Delegate Norman McKay, Yashki Kodo, Nagapes for Anna to cut any eggy, not the I could at Michananas, I on Saho Katida. Maybe Kodona Gaitam, and then the gate, Hazor the Nebuchadnezzar, not what Aslan, Hazor Nebuchadnezzar. Referendum da na to ne so ta da ban sa ke best for ani sa joy that the test one to ne na grade 48 or 88 or 110 that so ta da ban sa ke so what did a representation ki I see in the need the great chapters the ne nan hit a sa ko na great the ta ha zan de ne ne so I couldn't hear ya a ko 80 ba shen na ko so either you could I don't know I see here could I don't know get plan again national yet how you do or you should be our national what did the great plan for the Senate and great sa todo na nasis on the old jet todo then hot so what are the lally or either so on that the AD so ya do ba de se ko do ga ba ashi ko do na for the social ba ya ti aro na na ga ko do the ga proposal ya shi ko de ta na de de shi da sti ba ya na ne il ti do le so it ba se ke so sa ta ti de so do ba ha si do le aro na ko do da shi la ash honorable Mitchell okay thank you.
Agus ní adó ní nanta naidich, so I'll go back to the presenters, though I think your legal counsel also had some response.
Thank you. Members, Nabi Committee that are present here and also everyone on the line here. The election code that you currently have provides some guidance insofar as apportionment plans are concerned, okay? If you take a look at section 9 here, it does say apportionment. It says on or before the first Monday of May 1975 and every 10 years thereafter, the Navajo Nation Council, upon with the recommendation of the election board, shall designate the number and location of precincts. All such precincts shall be approximately equal in population. That's what the guidelines are that is set by the council beginning in 1990. And you have this provision here existing now. And under section 10, you do have your listing of precincts. Precincts here are defined beginning in 1990, election, the council, when it passed the 1990 election code, designated these areas as districts, and then listed chapters below that. But subsequent to that, the election code has been, at least insofar as Section 10, due to apportionment plans, that reference to districts has been deleted. So now your references under there are just simply references to chapters as well. So what I have found, looking at the provision on Section 9, there is a couple cases. One in particular I think is probably more important for us is one out from 1978. That's how far back this case is. There's one more recent one, of course, that is your case from 2010 or so. And essentially, I think the one in 19 coming out from 1978, it states here that any plan adopted for the Navajo Nation must take into account chapter boundaries, agency boundaries, district grazing boundaries, and other geographical symbols of the traditional clan relationship with the Navajo people. So basically, back in 1978, the Court of Appeals indicated that, and essentially, one of the issues back then was what is referred to as a plan that was based on at-large. So essentially, you want to consider population and as well as other factors, certainly. And I think that that is something that I think the election board is striving for, and they will present a plan. I think there's some references insofar as I think I heard Delegate Toth indicate sovereign nation. That is true. In the past, there's references to the fact that the nation is a sovereign nation insofar as apportionment plans are concerned. And essentially, I think once you begin to start talking about concepts that relate relative to federal, state type of concepts, certainly we can talk about some of those things, but that what I've read is currently what the law seems to be within Navajo Nation here that exists. Essentially, I think that there's a lot of discussion that does need to take place insofar as apportionment of delegates, and a lot of factors do come into play aside from population. Like what you indicated, distance is certainly a factor. So I will go ahead and end on that. Thank you.
I think there was a question by Delegate Daniels, a public hearing, Nikki. I do see his comment because he's part of Western, and it's quite a drive to Tuba City. If you should respond back to Delegate Daniels.
Again, good morning, honorable delegates. To Adesh Nandai, Honorable Daniels Naidin Kidigi. Jod Adeshin Gid Eyad Ben Bedel Nisto, Joshne Eya di Hashin Tsogo Beson Lenigi, Edo Nagishnadi, Ako Beson Lenigi Apo Hot Nich Konali, Ako Kadut Ehida. It is underfunded. We're underfunded. Ako binina niki bin na a public hearing niki the Tuba City the de Ilia. Ako needs the ala ni the shinkla azul lehigit akon budget di peso git abo ako de ako ni peso gi belaho chot ako shi bohonetsa as ni dohna addition I no linigi na idos kiligi a konde behes anigi bikato kodod section 9 yiltragi all those it comes to play a kot echo actually need o kwaigi lichoni lana a konde ya deviation hat nenigi shi de rande dole a kodonil a kwaiden khaba honasen a ko kat and the addition and I do we're not being paid mileage then ako what I nailnish ako khala we're underfunded ako ide ya I might be a little off the subject here but that's just some of the reason good thank you
I don't know, maybe one of the assignments is later legal counsel cover maybe make that part of your presentation packet, what the code says on reapportionment up front, or maybe after the history. That way, what needs to change, because if we're going to change from going from population, that law has to change. Though if we want to use our sovereignty, and we can easily divide 24 into 110, so that'll be like each delegate represents 4 or 5 chapters, regardless of the population. You involve compactness and all that. So I think most of the questions were distance. So that's where compactness comes in. That there's nobody with their hands raised for virtual. And this is very important. The representation a representation. So the agenda and the announcement. Any announcement? Delegates? Friday. And the next week, Naabik'iyati, Thursday, Board of Election, 9 o'clock. I think that's those are the meetings that are coming up. Delegate McGay, announcement.
Oh, she had yacht, she gave us it. Ado chat hindo ya hol ado we need chat hinch in a hol ago when hano yado ni hisoltado is in us on such a whole G ado you see I wanted to listen to this presentation. That's why I made my travel this morning. Binida ade dati yado ade shikhail kando kodenia akho hala di ebini beshbahasa ane shitilia ado anda hot ashin ebiket na nado shitoni hot ndi shwati da hot abeta hat sit in zadende hot shigal nish inko hot and adon ni hitsel ken lingo kon ni awet lingo nadin shlabnache ne Maya Curly Olya. She was serving in the U.S. Navy. Ako ade bagal da hantiti. Ako na kiskani da ade chidanata bebitli spenalti ko. Ako GDJ by HGJ. Been that she they did the honor right for her to Page, Arizona. Ako you see in the Datini Sande the Hashine Lodge in Nayan old Dinkland and what a Bagal Hashin Soko Ibis which in the hot it's a Leon Hota in here when the Naabik'iyati Hastin Ako this morning I want to recognize her for her courage, her her desire to serve her country, and to show that a woman, young ladies everywhere can accomplish what she was doing. And that even though it's a lean, she wanted to finish it to the end, but I auto a bekal the hundreds in the ado pomato beje a poma hallo beje haquinas quis canida she to bekal the nazi ko a retort go a boy beje na rado pomad a loop that naga bemasane I mean benalla benalla haskin do a kaibi todo ado bemasane do beche a copper mine that go what a hashin so go a page high school do ain't niltran there ado go a sports in nasne softball yo chipet at aho na hashish although the time she played for the softball team, they took the 3A North Regional Championship. You see, yeah, eho begali la although that she graduated from Page High School in May of 2017. Then she enlisted in the Navy and served from 2018 to this year. So what a ado and the Phoenix Airport the Sky Harbor Airport it's a United States Navy state what isn't ado she was escorted to Tuba City mortuary ado and a Navajo Hopi riders they honored her from Tuba City to Page Ado and Shiaj, the Mahayo, he did a little story about her on our 25th Navajo Nation Council. Ya binda di binibi hota binashni doles. Sil cage ke hotel. Tahani na rab gal tahandi yo bahane. Hashit go inayen all these nations and le. The binda wins no other shit all was. A hot end the shimpo mato beje. To be hache, but there's a cat of silike. To my son it over shade of nalada. Is she ate so this in bed as neat or less. What are in which a has seat or less or here.
Because I don't announcement to give although I believe Eastern Agency Council is meeting this Saturday. Eastern Agency Council, although and Western Bacado next week. And then usually Western and Northern are usually at the same time. Fort Defiance and then Chinle later on towards the following month. So just for your information, maybe you can get yourself on the agendas and all that and provide those information. They'll close the fourth session. Thank you.